My name is Michael Aikens. I work at Tennessee Tech in the Office of Research and Economic Development. I lead economic development initiatives at Tennessee Tech through such programs such as the Center for Rural Innovation, the CARES Act project, and the EagleWorks Student Innovation and Entrepreneurship program. And one of the great things about my job is that I literally get paid to network. So I thought it would be very appropriate to come to you today and talk to you about professional networking, particularly from an entrepreneurial perspective. Now, this presentation is of course all about professional networking. It's not really catered towards people that want to network to get a job because, well, quite frankly, I don't think that's what y'all are looking for. This is, of course, a local community business call. Y'all are entrepreneurs and you want to know about how can networking help my business. Well, it absolutely can, and I'm very excited to tell you more about that. So really the way that I look at networking is it really is an art and a science. Now, you think about the pandemic, and we're coming out of the pandemic, people are getting vaccinated, our infection rates are going down, which is awesome. And what I find is that even myself, when I'm starting to do in-person meetings, I'm starting to go to in-person networking opportunities, I'll be honest, I've found that I'm a little bit rusty. And for somebody that's as extroverted as myself and somebody that really enjoys talking to people, I have found that after a year of Zoom and Teams, I'm a little rusty. So I hope that this presentation today will kind of help you understand the fundamentals of networking, will help to inspire you a little bit. And ultimately, I hope that it motivates you to get you out there and network and really grow your enterprise. So first of all, what is networking? Well, at the end of the day, it's all about building relationships. So relationships, you think about that, obviously it's an exchange. You're talking back and forth to people, but it's a little bit more than that. And the first thing I want to impart to you is that it is a mutually beneficial relationship. So you're connecting to a network of people and ideas. Now, obviously you're going out there and you're networking because you have some intent, something that you want to get out of it, whether it be grow your business, to get more customers, whatever that intent is. What you need to keep in mind is that communication, particularly in networking, really should be a two-way conversation, and it should be mutually beneficial. So it's also an art. So when you talk about art, art is all about creating something new and creating something beautiful, creating something that has value for others. So you want to think about, what is that value that I'm going to give to others? It's not just me going out there to make connections for my own personal reasons. Obviously, that's why we're doing it, or one of the reasons. But again, you want to think about, how do you make that mutually beneficial for the people that you're networking with? For example, what services does your business provide that could be of benefit to somebody else? Or, it could be, maybe you have opportunities for employment or some other need that somebody has that you can help to fill. So when you have that mutually back and forth two-way conversation, keep that in mind. It's also a science. I mean, it literally is a methodological, iterative approach. So when I talk about a science, and you're going to see this here in just a little bit, there are steps that I'm going to recommend to you. But really what you want to do is, when you're out networking, you're always practicing, right? So you're always iterating your approach. And if it doesn't work out the first few times, the first 10 times, that's okay, because it's all about practice. And as long as you are consciously thinking about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and then thinking about later on, once you've done it, how you could have done better, it really does come down to a science, and there is an approach, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. So why is networking important? I think we've kind of already touched on that, but specifically, networking can really help improve your skill sets. It can help you talk to people, especially for you introverts out there. We're going to have some introvert tips here in a moment. Getting out there, getting outside of your comfort zone and talking to people, I know it can be difficult, but the more you do it, the better you become at it, and the better overall skills that you will learn. Also, extroverts, not too terribly difficult for you all to go out and talk to people, but when you're networking, and we'll talk about this in a moment, it will help your listening skills. That's right, listening skills when you're out networking. It will also help you to gain and receive access to resources. It'll help you help others around you, and ultimately, it's going to help your entrepreneurship mobility. So it's not what you know. I mean, it sort of is, of course, but it's really about who you know. So let's talk about the actual process. Remember, I mentioned that it was a science. So what you want to do is you really want to ask yourself first and foremost, why? Why am I doing this? So things that you want to think about are am I going to gain? Now, obviously we talked about this needs to be a two-way relationship, but you need to think about what are your goals for networking? Networking is not just going out and talking to people. That's a part of it, of course, but you want to go into it with a specific goal in mind. So for example, I want to meet so-and-so person, or I want to go and talk to a group of particular people that have a specific interest, right? Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I going to this particular event versus another one? Or why am I going at all? So you also want to think about what will others gain from you? Again, mutually beneficial relationship. So think about what you have to offer for other people. And then finally, think about why is this important, right? Why am I attending this event at all? Am I talking to the right people? Have I targeted the right people? Am I at the right place? And am I using my time and energy wisely? So once you kind of have that in check, then think about the relationship building aspect of this. So again, we'll say this many times over the course of the presentation, but it's got to be mutually beneficial. You don't want to go out there and you don't want to seem needy. You need to be able to have something in place that's going to be of value for somebody else. Also, adopt a give, not get mindset. So again, what do you have to offer? Why is that even important? And ultimately, ask yourself this question: why should someone care about what I have to say? And think critically and honestly about that, and the answers will come to you. You also want to know your audience, so do your research. Like I said a moment ago, you want to know who are you going to talk to. So understand if you're going to a particular event, what type of people come to those events. Is it a trade show? Is it a specific conference or something like that that has a specific theme? So think critically about, again, why am I going to this and who am I going to talk to? Again, do your research there and understand who will be there. Know the particular people you want to meet, and that might be a specific person or persons, or it could be a category of persons. Maybe you want to learn more about a specific industry that maybe your business wants to expand into. Well, a great way to do that is go out and network and find out what are the problems that these people in this industry have. And once you can start having that mutually beneficial conversation, I guarantee you, you're going to come away with very mutually beneficial information. So now we've thought about why, and we've thought about the research, and we've thought about, what place do we need to be? Well, here we are. What you want to have in mind is your elevator pitch. So I'm sure as entrepreneurs, y'all have heard of that before, but if you don't, an elevator pitch is basically a 90-second or a very short pitch that tells somebody about your business, tells somebody about yourself. And the phrase really kind of comes from that you can get in an elevator with somebody and you have just that right amount of time to tell them all about what you want to tell them. So think about your elevator pitch before you go out. Your elevator pitch should be constructed in 5 easy to do steps. Number 1, it's your introduction. So who am I and what is my business? Practice saying your name. It seems silly, but it can become difficult to say your name, especially as you say it over and over and over again. It can kind of maybe not come out too easy. So my name is Michael Aikens, and I find a lot of times, especially in larger crowds where it's a little bit noisy, it can become difficult to say my name. And while my name is actually Michael, what I've found from my networking, when I introduce myself to people that I don't know in a situation like that, I actually introduce myself as Mike, because what I found is when I say Michael Aikens in a loud situation, they don't completely hear it. They'll say, oh, Mark, or I've had Markle, I've had Bartu, I've had all kinds of really interesting interpretations of my name. So think about how to say your name. Practice saying your name in the mirror and make adjustments as necessary. So maybe if Jennifer's hard to get out, shorten it to Jen. You can always correct them later. So think about your value proposition. So again, we've talked about that this is a mutually beneficial exchange of information between two people. So again, you really want to think about what do you have to offer and why it relates to them. What value are you going to give to them? So very much similar to your own business, you provide a value to your customers. Think about that value that you can provide to other people by networking with them. Number 3, get them to engage with you. It's not just enough to walk up and talk with them. You've got to be able to have that meaningful conversation. So think about a question that you can ask them that's going to allow them to talk about their favorite subject themselves, right? So once you've been able to ask that question, then you've got engagement and you can really have those further meaningful conversations. Number 4, actively listen. Extroverts, take note of this. You've got to actively listen. So I like to say, listen more, talk less. Well, wait a minute, Michael, we're talking about networking here. We're going out and we're telling people about what we have to offer. Absolutely, but you want to make sure that you understand who you're talking to, and you want to make sure that you give them time to ask questions, to absorb what you've said, and ultimately learn about what makes that person tick. Maybe you're there to help solve a problem, or maybe you're there to, really solve a problem that you have. Well, what is that other person's context? So make sure that you take time to actually listen. And don't just listen for what they're saying. Actively listen and understand how that fits within your context, how that fits within your networking strategy approach, and then mentally you can make all that come together. And then finally, end your elevator pitch with an action statement. Maybe you have the best brand, the best business, the best innovative problem-solving solution in the world, and they're already interested in it. But if you don't end with that action statement, where's it going to go? Probably nowhere. So can I get your card? Can I call you? Can I set up a meeting with you? Have a specific action statement that when you end that networking interaction, that you can get them on board, and then you can know that you're going to be able to take a next step with them. It's not good enough to give them your card. Again, it's not good enough just to give your card to them. You need to get their card so that you can then go back and you can email them, you can call them, text them, whatever they want. But make sure that you get that card, because when you give somebody your card and you don't get theirs, that puts the action item on them. And it's up to them to remember that they've talked to you, to take the motivation to email you or call you or whatever. So you get their card and make sure that within 24 hours you follow up with them, so that 1, you're fresh in their heads, 2, so that you don't forget, because we're all busy, we're all entrepreneurs, and you want to make sure that you're able to follow through on that action item for yourself. Now, a couple tips for elevator pitches. They need to be short and to the point. I like to say about 90 seconds, but you don't want to rush them either. You want to be able to tell them who you are, what your business is, why you're there, whatever reason that you're networking for, and then have an exchange of information with them and have a conversation. And remember, actively listen. Your elevator pitch can be customized, right? So it may be a little bit different depending on what situation you're in. So maybe you're in a trade show specific to transportation industry, and then you go to a networking event at the local university. Maybe completely different, right? So think about how you can customize and really make your elevator pitch dynamic to fit the situation that you're going to be in. Most importantly, I would have to say that it needs to be memorable. So you didn't go too fast. You didn't just spill all your marbles at once. You've had a conversation with them, but ultimately they need to remember you, right? Especially when you're going to follow up with them within 24 hours. Make them excited that you're going to follow up with them. Another great tip for you is that you want to practice and iterate your networking strategies. So absolutely practice your elevator pitch, but you also want to practice networking in general. So you can network whenever and wherever. So you may even want to just go practice. There may be no other intent other than just to get practice with getting out there and talking to people. And again, we've been behind Zoom screens for an entire year now. You might be rusty. I know that I was, and I'm absolutely practicing going out there and really getting the rust off and learning how to talk again. And then again, for you introverts, if you're not comfortable talking with people, number 1, that's okay. Number 2, try to get outside of your comfort zones, because I guarantee you, the more you practice, the old adage, practice makes perfect, right? The more you practice with people, the better it's going to be and the easier it's going to be. Don't expect it to happen overnight, but if you consistently go out and practice and consistently go out and network and talk to people over time, you will improve, it will become more comfortable, and it will become more natural. I would also recommend to you to get feedback. So go to a friend, pitch your elevator pitch to them, or network with them, or go out and attend events. Maybe there's an event that you don't necessarily think that you have any value to add. Just practice at that event introducing yourself, walking up to a person saying, "Hi, my name's Mike Aikens and I'd like to talk to you." That can be a little daunting, but again, if you go out to events and you continue doing this and continue to practice, I promise you it will become easier, and you're going to become a better communicator, and you're also going to become a better listener. I want to talk to you a little bit about situational awareness, right? So a lot of times as extroverts, like myself, sometimes we don't necessarily listen as much as we should. So we definitely want to make sure that we're listening, active listening, but we also need to be situationally aware. And what I mean by that is reading body language. And there's two different types of body language. Actually, I should say there's two different contexts of body language. First of all is be aware of their body language. Pay attention to their interest level. Know when to approach them and know when to stop talking to them. So if they're already engaged in networking with somebody else, or they're trying to pay, or they're trying to do something that has their attention, that's probably not going to be the best time to approach them, right? So you can pay attention to their body language, from across the room or wherever you're observing them, and then think about when would be a natural time to come up and talk to them. Now, also, once you've come up and you're networking with them, pay attention to their body language. What is it telling you? People that kind of get, closed off, or maybe they're looking around, or they're just generally not interested in what you have to say, wrap it up, go on to somebody else. You don't need to be talking to them. And there could be many, many reasons for them. And I want to encourage you to, if you find yourself in a situation where you don't perceive their body language as such that they're enjoying talking to you, that's okay. Don't take it personally. There could be a million different reasons for why they're closed off at that point in time. What you really want to do is make sure that once you perceive that body language is kind of negative, or that you need to wrap it up, go ahead and wrap it up. You can always talk to them at some other point in time, or maybe this just isn't a person that you need to invest your energy into. Also, make sure that you're paying attention to your own body language. Number one, smile, right? A great smile goes a long way. So go up to them, shake their hand. "Hi, I'm Mike Aikens. How are you doing?" Big smile. Much better than, "Hey, Michael Aikens, how are you doing?" Head down. That's not going to make a good impression. Also, if you're working on trying to be more confident in walking up to meet and talk to people, think about that body language. Eye contact. You want to make direct eye contact with them, right? But you don't want to stare them in the eyes the entire time either. Just be natural. One tip that I got a long time ago that I really like to use is when you want to make sure that you are talking directly to somebody, but you don't feel comfortable maybe looking at them in the eyes the entire time, but you want to make sure that you're engaged with them, stare right here. Instead of looking right into their eyes, stare right here into the center of their forehead. So for me, it's natural for me to cross my arms, especially when I'm sitting. It's just a comfortable stance, but unfortunately, that can unintentionally project negative body language, right? So it's the act of closing off to the person. So try to stand with an open stance. Also, like we said, you want to make sure that you control your eyes. You don't want to necessarily stare them in the eyes the entire time, like we mentioned a moment ago, but also make sure that you're at least giving them some type of eye contact, because you don't want to be looking around the room. You don't want to be staring at the ground. And sometimes maybe we're not comfortable, or we're not feeling comfortable or confident, and we tend to stare at the ground, and a lot of times our shoulders will go down. So if you look at me and I'm doing kind of like this doesn't really seem like somebody you want to talk to, right? So be aware, one, if they're doing that, but also more so make sure that you are situationally aware of your body language. So good posture, good smile, looking them directly in the face, and not closing off. So let's talk about introverts and extroverts. Just a couple quick tips for you. Number one, being an introvert or an extrovert is not a bad or a good thing. That's just who you are. And you're probably not going to change that. But you can get outside of your comfort zones. And this truly goes for both introverts and extroverts. So introverts, speak up, say something, go and do it. I know that it takes a lot of energy to even think about going out there and networking with somebody and talking and doing all this chit chat and small talk. What's the point, right? Well, there's a really important point, and that's to help you network and make connections for your business. but you've got to make the first move. You got to take initiative, because a lot of times people probably aren't going to come up and talk to you on their own. They might, but if you're out there specifically for networking purposes, you've got to take that initiative. You've got to speak up and you've got to say something. So just go out there and do it. Small talk is valuable. Again, I know introverts do not like the small talk. I promise you there is a need for it. It may not seem like it, but that's what networking is really all about. So if you can think about it in this way, be methodological, have a goal, have a specific reason that you're going out and networking, and understand that sometimes the small talk in between, that is what is necessary for you to reach that goal, okay? So maybe that helps you understand that a little bit more and be a little bit more comfortable with it. Also, feed off your passion. I know you've got a passion, and I know that you want to talk about it deep down. Go out there, network, practice, and once you've practiced and once you're feeling more comfortable, you really will be able to let your passion show through, and that's what people really feed off of. One, they feed off confidence, and two, they can tell when you're passionate about something, and when your passion is projected onto somebody else and they're feeling your passion, guess what? They're going to want to work with you. They're going to want to buy from you. They're going to want to talk to you. And finally, just know you can do this. You really can. You absolutely can do this, and there is absolute worth in doing this as well. So it gets easier with practice. I understand that it's draining, but guess what? As an extrovert, it's pretty draining for me too, because we work long days, we go out, we do our business, and then many of these events are in the evening, so it can be draining for us as well. But extroverts, take it down a few notches, okay? Less talking, more listening. Again, you want to not only just listen, you want to actively listen. Understand what this person is telling you. Think about how that fits into your context and give them an opportunity to talk, especially if you know that you're talking with an introvert. A tip that I got from one of my best friend that is an introvert a long time ago is that once you're talking and you stop and want them to speak, give them a few seconds to think about what they're going to say and then respond. So don't fill the silence with your voice. Again, don't fill silence with your voice. You don't have to, you don't need to, it's not necessary, and we don't need that. So talk less, listen more. Also, keep it professional. You don't necessarily need to divulge too much. Nobody needs to know what you had for breakfast. Nobody cares what time you woke up this morning, etc., etc. Keep it on point, keep it methodological. And then finally, one more time, this is a mutually beneficial exchange. So listen, 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 listen. Shut up for a minute and listen. And then finally, take the initiative. Force yourself to attend these events. Networking, it's draining for everybody, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. We've worked long days, like I said, many of these things are in the evening. Sometimes they're early in the morning. It can really be easy to just say, you know what, I don't think I'm going to go and do this, but you never know what connection you may have missed. You never know what person that you may have missed, and you will never know what you could have done. So commit to it, force yourself to attend. Make the first move. Said this a couple times already, but again, don't expect that people are going to come up and talk to you. You need to take that initiative and initiate the conversation with them. Again, get their card. It's not good enough for you to hand them your card. That's great if you do, but if you don't have their card, then you can't take that motivation and that initiative to contact them. Don't assume that they're going to be so passionate about you that they're going to remember to do that. So again, get their card. And then finally, follow up within 24 hours. I cannot stress this enough. Number one, it's important, like we said earlier, because they'll still be fresh in your mind. You will be fresh in their mind, but it's also a professional courtesy. Just go ahead and get in the tune of 24 hours. And then if something occurs, maybe you have the ability to continue to work with them. Maybe they become a new customer, an employee, or whatever it is. Take what you've learned here today and impart that to other people. So again, practice, listen, take the initiative, and take the initiative to go there. So once again, my name is Michael Aikens. This has been my short networking presentation. I'd love to hear some questions from you.